Hi guys, welcome back to my rabbit hole of K-pop. I am Atomic Rabbit. I have TAEMIN on the schedule for today, my cycle of groups. I know it's getting longer and longer, but that is just because there is so much content and so much K-pop and so much joy to be found each day in all of this. So I am taking my sweet time, and luckily there's not much else to do these days outside in the world. So I have all the time in the world to enjoy this. I'm glad you're enjoying this with me. I collected a few things today to watch TAEMIN. These are mostly performances and MVs, just because I wanted to catch up on those. It's been a long time coming. I just collected a few. I just want to watch it and absorb it and just, relax a little bit, and just have a little bit of appreciation for the music, and not too much other content. Also because I'm watching Mtopia, and I'm into the shiny thing also. Just so there's a lot going on. So instead of confusing myself with all these different programs that were shot on different times during the past years, I'm just gonna go watch a few MVs and just enjoy his music for a little bit. And then next time I'll probably have more technical sides like dance practices again, and maybe I'll get to watch one of those compilations, because you guys have also like a video about his progress or something like that. I just didn't feel like going back through all these comments to find it again, as you guys tend to leave a lot of requests and comments. And it's not that I'm ignoring them, not at all. I see them, it's just a lot. And there's still a lot that I want to get to on my own pace. So that's why I'm maybe not getting to all of the things that you're suggesting and requesting right away. Eventually it will come, probably. So probably next time I'll have it noted down or put it in my watch list or watch later list or whatever. Anyway, I'm rambling. Just a little bit of a insight of how my days work and go. For this one, I have the famous performance version. I have Think of You MV, and I have Press Your Number MV. So let's go. Oh. Wow. I love that. The little moment. I just hope this video doesn't get blocked. I'm just now realizing this is a Japanese version, but I love this little moment in the choreo where it just goes into the chorus, or it just comes out of the chorus. What was it? Also, this little movement. I love how he works with always this group of dancers around him, and it just works. They're not just backup dancers, they're part of the whole thing. Just waiting for that moment to come back, but it's okay because this is a great song. That little thing, like the little movement, and that was in the beginning as well. Oh, it's just right after the thing. Wait. Yeah. Watching the same thing again, but who cares, because it's TAEMIN. Also love this. Kind of low-key dangerous, but more enchanting than dangerous. I love how his choreos are borderline, I had the word earlier. The movements are kind of like, they make me feel a little bit uneasy because of the way he moves his body, and the dancers also move their body. Like this movement with the arms like that, it just gives me this little uneasy feeling because of, it doesn't look natural, but it feels like it's supposed to be exactly how it feels like that is exactly how it's supposed to be interpreted. Like this kind of thing that isn't completely right. But it still kind of is, but it really isn't. It shouldn't be right. Something like that. The spread also of these two lines just right next to him. It's a combination of, it's also, that jump, it's a combination of it being very well shot, this MV, like the angle was perfect for that line to move, but the choreo as well. It's a combination of those two. The person who filmed this absolutely knew how to work the best angles of this. Sometimes I wish they would have kept a bigger overview instead of zooming in, but it's still TAEMIN and it's not about the dancers, but it kind of is about the dancers also. Also, that last switch up in the composition of the dancers, it looked like it wasn't necessary, but it alters the ending after it ended. This is the reason why performance is such a big part of K-pop. And it's not only the song, because when you listen to a song, you get a totally different feel. You get a totally different image. It's something different. And for some songs, I don't know. Sometimes when I hear a song, I don't really feel intrigued to go watch the choreo or go watch the performance behind it. And then I watch it and I'm like, oh my God, the song is complete now. Sometimes I watch it like now. This is the first time that I'm seeing and hearing it. It's combined. So it's the performance and it's the song and it's the music. So it's all combined and it comes all at you all at once. Now I know that I'll be listening to this song and I'll be getting more familiar with it and I'll be getting a totally different feeling with it. And then when I go back to watch the performance, I can enjoy it even more because it has become this bigger piece. It has become something that I can understand better, even better. It's just exactly like how you grow together with your groups. The same goes for that music. For each individual song that these artists make and they have a performance that comes with it, once you have watched the performance with the song and once you've really listened to the song and you've gone through the lyrics and you understand what it's about, and even if you don't go through the lyrics, you can still understand what the song is about. Sometimes you don't need to read it to understand it. Once you've collected all these little parts and it becomes one, it's like going from that first initial lovey-dovey phase into a phase of deeper understanding of that song. In this case, it's not a person, but it's this song. It grows on you and it becomes something you're comfortable with and that really reaches to you and something that you can find solace in. That's why I love K-pop, and I think this is also what attracted me in the first place to K-pop, because like I said, TAEMIN is the second person who actually reached out to me, second artist who reached out to me before I got into K-pop. It took BTS to really wheel me in, but it was TAEMIN who had my mind blown when I saw Move for the first time, just on a television screen somewhere. And I think TAEMIN is still, he just has this special place in my heart and in my collection of artists and groups because of who he is and because of what he does and because of what he shares and the amount of work. I don't think I really identify with him as a person. That is not the way I can relate to him the most, but or maybe it is, I don't know. Well, it sort of is, but it's his artistic view and vision and the way he behaves. That is something that I can really, that is why I respect him this much, because he's the kind of person that I wish I could be. He's doing things that I wish I could do, and in that sense I just have this special connection with him. Anyway, let's go into Think of You. Still in Paris? Yeah. Love that coat. I can hear him laugh. little kid, isn't he? Oh, cute. Korean is such a beautiful language. So sweet. I love how I just collected random MVs and put them together and just put myself through a roller coaster of impressions. This is also this might to prepare myself for what is about to come, because I think this is one of those art pieces again, like Criminal and Idea and all of the other things TAEMIN does. Korean really is a beautiful language because it just has this natural flow, but it's also soft, and it just, even if I don't understand it, there's just words that I can pick up. For some reason, it feels like it makes much more sense to listen to it. It feels like it reaches me in a better way than English songs do, because for me, it's just my own language, Dutch, English, French, Italian, those are languages that I know. And for me, for some reason, they feel really flat. They have always felt that way. And I think it's because, even if they're completely different languages, because English and Dutch are Germanic languages, and they're pretty simple. You express yourself, and what you say is what you say. There's one word for a meal, and like that. Just a meal is a meal, and then you can say dinner, but that is a dinner. So that is not a meal. It's just really, there's a word for almost everything. And then in French, it's more complicated, because if you speak a sentence, half of the sentence that you're saying isn't actually pronounced, but when you write it, it's there. So the letters are there. So it's a bit more of a complicated language. Also, it's a Roman language, so it has this different feel to it. And still, for me, personally, and this is my personal, I love language. I have a thing for languages. I find it really interesting because it's so close to someone's culture. culture and language are just really intertwined. And I'm not offending anyone by saying this is just my personal view. And I know there was this thing not too long ago. There was a translator who said something about English language, and well, there's a whole shitstorm of comments that came with that. But I understand what that translator was trying to say. And it was not to be offensive by saying that English is a flat language. It's just a very simple language, which is not a bad thing, because you can just express yourself and you can just really say what you want to say. There aren't really nuances in that language. And in Italian and French, there aren't many nuances either. There's different ways you can say something, but the words that you're using will always be kind of the same. So there's not really this play on language. It's just what you see is what you're getting, which is a bit more complicated in the Roman languages because of the excessive use of letters in the written language. But when you speak it, it's pretty clear and pretty obvious what you want to say. And so for me personally, when I want to express myself, these days I have less difficulty expressing myself in English than I have in Dutch. For me, Dutch is lacking words sometimes to express what I'm trying to convey. And then French isn't on the top of my head anymore because I returned to the Netherlands, so I live here. So French isn't a language that I speak on a daily basis. So it's still here. It's just it's not on the top of my head when I'm trying to find words. But sometimes you will hear me blurt out a word in French because that is for some reason the word that pops up in my head. But it's not my to-go-to now. For some reason, when I'm trying to learn Korean, sometimes I have an Italian word that pops up in my head. But that is just because of the way that Korean is pronounced. Like the R, that's the same in Italian and Spanish and some other languages as well that have, it's a bit more of this Roman thing. But yeah, so what intrigues me in Korean is that there are so many ways to say something. There are so many nuances in it, and there are so many varieties and levels. And for me, that complexity of the language makes a lot of sense, because for some reason, although I can't speak it, I'm really making an effort into learning it because I want to be able to speak it, because I think I can actually, with that is the language that can help me express myself in a better way. Because I feel every single day, I feel like I'm lacking words and expressions to express myself, to express the complexity of things that I've got going on in here. And I have that ever since I discovered K-pop and then discovered the language and the culture. As soon as I got into BTS, I think a week later, I started learning Korean because I knew right away that I wanted to learn that language and that I would be able to learn it. Because I wanted to understand it for myself without the translators. I will still have to refer to translators, but you know, I just needed to get there. And the more I'm learning about it and the more I'm learning about the country and the culture, the more it feels like it makes sense to me. Like that is something that for me, it tops everything that I've learned and seen so far. Because the part of the world where I live in, for me, it doesn't make sense. In my head, in my experience, in the way I see things, in the way I want to live my life, it just doesn't make sense to me. Korea and Korean do. I don't know why. But the more I'm getting into it, the more I feel like I was born in the wrong part of the world. And like there's answers in Korea and in Korean that to questions that I've been asking myself for a long time. I'm saying all of this and I'm sharing all of this because that is what TAEMIN made me think of in the song right before here, Thinking of You. Because of his expression, both in his face and his song, and the words and what I was hearing and what I was seeing. And all these artists are K-pop artists and Korean artists are making me see the world from a whole different perspective, and from a perspective that for me makes a lot more sense than the perspective that I'm living. All right. I'll stop talking. Press your number. Let's go. Okay, that last one got me confused. I don't really know what was happening in there. So I will have to look up the lyrics for that one. But I don't know if the lyrics are gonna make some sense together with the MV that I watched. It was also very weird in a way to see American and Western people dance with him instead of the usual or usual, instead of his the dancers that I'm used to seeing behind him. I can't say which nationality they are because I don't know. They might be Japanese or Chinese, and not only Korean. And for these ones, I can't say if they're all American. So anyway, dancers, different dancers than what I'm used to seeing behind him. So that one left me a bit confused. But for all the other ones, well, I talked enough, because this I'm seeing that this is half an hour reaction. I'm sorry, guys. I had a lot to say. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. I will see you on the next one. Annyeong!